Welcome to another deep dive. So glad you're joining us today. Usually when we think of Hollywood wealth, I feel like our minds just automatically default to the exact same images.
Oh, absolutely. Like you picture blockbuster action stars hanging off the side of airplanes.
Yeah. For like $50 million a picture, or we imagine these massive pop singers selling out global stadium tours.
All right. The highly visible, incredibly publicized icons. I mean, we tend to measure entertainment wealth by the size of the explosions or just, the sheer volume of the crowd.
Exactly. But sitting quietly above a lot of those A-list action stars is a 56-year-old former sketch writer. And as of her birthday in May 2026, she's sitting on a $75 million empire.
Which is just phenomenal.
It really is. Today, our mission is to execute a forensic financial audit on Tina Fey. And more specifically, we're looking at how she completely re-engineered the math of the comedy business.
Because when you actually look at the mechanics of her career, she didn't get rich just by being funny on camera.
Yep.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, what's fascinating here is that she is the ultimate multi-hyphenate mogul. The real story, the central thesis of this whole deep dive, is how she shifted from being a highly paid employee to operating as a one-woman studio.
Right. She wrote, starred in, created, produced, and entirely owned her material.
Exactly.
So let's break down exactly how she did that, because to understand that $75 million net worth, you have to look at where she started. And really what she chose to break away from.
Yeah, her origins.
Right. The launchpad for her career was Saturday Night Live. She famously became the first female head writer in the show's history.
Which is a huge milestone.
Huge. But there is a massive financial ceiling at a legacy institution like SNL. Even for top-tier talent, like the absolute biggest names on that stage pay, is capped at upwards of $25,000 per episode.
Right, which works out to roughly $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, for almost anyone listening, right, a $500,000 salary sounds like an incredible destination.
Oh, for sure. It sounds like you've won the lottery. You've made it.
Yeah, but you have to look at the context of the underlying business.
Mm-hmm.
SNL is broadcast on a television network generating billions of dollars in advertising revenue.
Billions.
Right. So in that ecosystem, $25,000 an episode is just a wage.
Mm.
It is W-2 employee compensation.
Yeah.
You are being paid a flat fee for your labor, and your labor has a hard ceiling dictated by the corporate owner. I mean, you're essential to the product, but you don't own the product.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's basically like being the star player on a Major League Baseball team.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. You are getting paid incredibly well to hit home runs. But what she did next with her sitcom, 30 Rock, was essentially stepping off the field to buy the stadium, buy the team, and take ownership of the broadcast rights.
That is exactly the shift.
Yeah.
Moving from the field to the owner's box.
Because when she launched 30 Rock, she instituted what is basically a 4 paychecks strategy.
Uh-huh.
She didn't just write a pilot and wait to be cast. She wore 4 distinct, legally separate hats. She was the creator, the executive producer, the head writer, and the lead actress.
And this is where we really have to look at the actual mechanism of Hollywood leverage.
Okay.
In the entertainment industry, each of those 4 roles represents a completely different union and a completely different fee structure.
Oh, right. Like the guilds.
Exactly. The Writers Guild, the Screen Actors Guild, the Producers Guild. By consolidating all of those critical roles into one single person, she made herself entirely indispensable.
But wait, explain how that leverage actually works in a negotiation room. Because, networks fire lead actors and replace head writers all the time.
I do, yeah.
So what makes this specific combination so bulletproof?
Well, think about it from NBC's perspective during a contract negotiation. Usually, if an actor demands too much money, the network can play hardball. They can write the character off the show, put someone else in the lead, and just keep the series going. And if a head writer asks for a massive raise, the network can fire them and promote a junior writer to run the room.
They sort of divide and conquer.
Exactly. Because the network holds the ultimate authority.
Yeah.
But when Tina Fey sits at the table, she isn't just the lead actress. She is the head writer. And more importantly, she is the creator of the entire intellectual property. So if NBC tries to play hardball and fire the actress, they simultaneously lose the showrunner who breaks all the stories and the creator whose specific comedic voice makes the show a critical darling.
Wow.
Yeah, she engineered a scenario where the network had a binary choice. pay her whatever she wants, or effectively cancel your own Thursday night comedy anchor.
It's like a legal hostage situation.
Basically, yeah.
But, in the best way possible for the creator. And the results of that leverage are just staggering. I mean, by season 5, as 30 Rock was sweeping the Emmy Awards, she used that consolidated power to command $500,000 per episode.
Incredible.
Right. At a standard 23-episode season, she was pulling in $11.5 million in base salary alone for a single year of work.
Which is a 20-fold increase from her absolute maximum cap at Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it's wild.
And again, that $11.5 million is simply the base fee for showing up and executing those 4 roles.
Right. But, earning $11.5 million in a single season, while massive, is still active income.
Very true.
She still had to physically drive to the lot, sit in the writer's room for hours, and stand in front of the camera for like 14 hours a day.
Yeah, it's grueling.
And you can't build a $75 million empire just by trading your time for money, even at that scale. You eventually have to transition that active income into passive infrastructure.
You have to build a system that works while you sleep.
Exactly.
And this is where the conversation shifts to the syndication engine she built, specifically through back-end points.
Okay, I have to push back here, or at least ask the question that seems obvious. Didn't NBC own 30 Rock?
Because they financed it, right? They broadcast it, they put it on the billboards.
Yeah.
How does an employee, even a star employee, just walk away with back-end points when a massive conglomerate is paying for the production?
It's a really great question. And it comes down to the difference between being a participant and being the originator.
Okay.
When you secure the legal credit of creator on a television show, you aren't just an employee anymore. You are a partner in the underlying asset.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the complex math of Hollywood packaging, the creator negotiates a percentage of the show's overall net or gross profits, the back end.
Right.
So NBC might own the distribution, but they have to share the profits with the person who generated the intellectual property from thin air.
So how does that payout actually materialize over time?
Well, every single time 30 Rock is licensed to a streaming platform, whether it's Peacock or Hulu, she gets paid.
Wow.
Every time the show is syndicated globally, dubbed into different languages, and aired on cable networks in Europe or Asia, she receives a massive residual check.
That's amazing. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is the ultimate separation of time and money.
I mean, it's less like a typical salary and more like planting a toll booth on a busy highway.
Yes.
She built the road back in 2010, but she gets to collect a quarter every single time someone drives on it in 2026.
Precisely. When you are a highly paid employee at SNL, your income stops the moment you walk out the door. But by owning the blueprint, she ensured that a joke she wrote in a writer's room 16 years ago is structurally designed to generate direct deposits into her bank account today.
That's just brilliant. But I want to pause on this idea of owning the blueprint because I want to look at it from the perspective of you, the listener.
Right.
Not everyone has the capital or the star power or the Emmy Awards to demand back-end points from a massive corporation.
Of course not.
So if I am a mid-level professional right now, say a junior writer trying to pitch my first show, or even someone working outside of entertainment entirely, I don't have the leverage Tina Fey had in 2010. So what does this all mean for creators today? Is the real lesson here that being the talent even enough unless you also own the blueprint?
I think so, yeah. It applies because the fundamental law of ownership scales down just as perfectly as it scales up.
How so?
Well, you might not be negotiating with NBC, but you are always negotiating the terms of your own labor. If you are just trading your skills for a flat fee, you're basically renting your brain to the entity that owns the blueprint.
Right.
The lesson here isn't necessarily about demanding millions of dollars. It's about asking yourself, am I creating equity?
Yeah.
Can you build a proprietary tool at your tech job that you retain a stake in? Can you structure a consulting contract so you get a percentage of the revenue you generate rather than just an hourly rate? It's a mindset shift from being the labor to owning a piece of the machine.
That makes a lot of sense. You have to find a way to shift from the W-2 mindset to the equity mindset, whatever your industry is.
Exactly.
But there's a vulnerability to the 30 Rock television model, right?
What do you mean?
Well, even with lucrative back-end points, television shows eventually age.
Ah.
They fade from streaming homepages, they lose cultural relevance. To build a truly bulletproof empire, a legacy that outlasts a single medium, you need something that doesn't just sit on a server somewhere. You need an intellectual property that is alive, something adaptable.
And that is what elevated her from a highly successful television producer to a cultural mogul, her absolute mastery of intellectual property.
Which brings us to the pink elephant in the room, Mean Girls.
Yes, the crown jewel.
This is an absolute masterclass in how to take a single asset and mutate it into a multi-platform, billion-dollar cultural monopoly.
Let's get into it.
Let's look at the origin. In 2004, Paramount releases the original Mean Girls film. It's shot on a relatively modest budget of $17 million, and it goes on to gross $130 million globally.
Huge return.
Huge. It becomes an instant cult classic.
Now, back in 2004, Fey wrote the screenplay and co-starred in the film. And for that, she received a standard, solid, upfront writing fee.
Which is how the movie business generally works.
Right. The studio Paramount takes on the financial risk. They put up the $17 million. In exchange, they own the copyright.
Right.
As the screenwriter, you get paid your upfront fee, regardless of whether the movie bombs or makes $130 million.
Mm-hmm.
You are insulated from the risk, but you are also cut out of the massive upside.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Most writers in that scenario would just take the win.
Yeah, they move on.
They'd frame the movie poster, cash their upfront check, and just let the hit movie exist in the past as a phenomenal resume builder to get their next job.
But Fey recognized that Mean Girls wasn't just a successful teen comedy. The quotes, the characters, the fashion it had permeated the culture. She saw that it was a highly valuable, untapped brand.
She saw latent potential.
Yeah, and she realized that keeping it locked as a 2004 movie was basically leaving millions of dollars on the table.
So she executes a pivot that completely changes the trajectory of her wealth. She adapts her own screenplay into a Broadway musical.
An incredibly rare move.
We have to really dig into why this specific move is so brilliant, because the mechanics of theatrical rights are entirely different from film residuals.
Oh, they are night and day.
Yeah.
Usually when a Hollywood studio adapts a movie into a stage musical, they hire a completely different team of theatrical writers and lyricists.
Right.
The original screenwriter might get a passive based on credit in the playbill and, a small nominal payout. But Fey leveraged her position and her deep understanding of the material to become the book writer for the musical herself.
And why does that title, book writer, matter so much financially?
Because of the Dramatists Guild. In film, the studio owns the copyright. But in theater, under Dramatists Guild contracts, the writers, the playwright, the composer, the lyricist, retain the copyright to the play.
Wait, really?
Yes. The theatrical producer is essentially renting the rights from the writers. As the book writer, she unlocked theatrical royalties. This means she earned a percentage of the weekly box office gross.
And the Broadway run was a massive commercial hit. I mean, at its peak, it was grossing over $1 million a week.
And she is getting a percentage of that $1 million every single week right off the top. As long as the lights are on, the tickets are sold, the royalties flow.
Wow.
It's a completely different, highly lucrative revenue stream that operates entirely outside of Hollywood film economics.
So let's map out exactly what this IP ecosystem looks like right now in the year 2026. Because she didn't just stop at Broadway, the IP just kept mutating.
It really did.
In 2024, she brought the entire franchise full circle by writing and producing the Mean Girls musical movie adaptation.
I mean, think about the geometry of that.
It's crazy.
It is a movie based on a stage musical,
Right.
which was based on a movie which she originally wrote. She effectively built a closed-loop system of revenue, double-dipping into her own creation.
But the live theatrical aspect is where the true scale of this monopoly really reveals itself. Right now, in 2026, the musical is on a highly publicized, sold-out UK and Ireland tour.
Yeah.
They are playing massive theaters from London all the way to Dublin. But that's just the professional tier. The part that really blew my mind is the amateur licensing market.
Oh, the high school and community theater market. This is the hidden gold mine of theatrical IP.
Exactly. Local high schools across the globe are paying licensing fees to put on their own productions of Mean Girls.
Let's visualize the sheer physical reality of this. Think about a random Friday night in 2026. A teenager in California is streaming the 2024 movie adaptation on their tablet.
Okay.
At that exact same moment, 3,000 people in Dublin are handing over their credit cards to buy tickets for the professional touring production.
Yeah.
And concurrently, a drama teacher in a high school auditorium in Ohio is cutting a $2,000 check to a licensing agency to secure the rights for their drama club.
And the underlying truth of this entire deep dive is that from the streaming revenue in California to the Dublin box office, all the way down to the high school auditorium in Ohio, Tina Fey gets a cut of every single transaction.
It is a masterclass in maximizing the surface area of your intellectual property. She took a single script written 22 years ago and engineered it so that it is actively monetized across multiple continents, across multiple mediums, and across entirely different demographics simultaneously.
It's just staggering. And it brings us back to you listening to this right now, because analyzing a $75 million Hollywood empire isn't just about marveling at celebrity wealth.
No, not at all.
It's a blueprint for maximizing the value of your own work. It asks you to critically examine how you operate in your own career.
Are you treating yourself purely as labor, or are you thinking like an owner?
Yeah. Exactly. Are you just clocking in, trading your time and expertise for an upfront fee, like that $25,000 SNL ceiling? Or are you actively looking for ways to build infrastructure around your expertise?
Right.
Are you finding ways to create your own toll booths in whatever field you happen to be in?
It completely challenges the standard model of work. It proves that lasting wealth isn't generated simply by the sheer volume of hours you grind out.
Yeah.
It's generated by how long the work you've already done continues to work for you after you've walked away from the desk.
But before we wrap up, there's one final, somewhat provocative thought I want to leave you with. Something for you to mull over on your own that builds on what we've talked about today.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Well, I was looking at the longevity of this specific IP, especially the theatrical licensing. We're talking about a movie from 2004 that is still highly relevant and generating cash in 2026.
Right, which raises a fascinating question about the nature of creation itself. We've seen how she built a system where her 2004 and 2010 creations are paying her today. But looking at the high school licensing fees for Mean Girls, what happens when this intellectual property outlives its creator?
Wait, what do you mean?
Think about classical theater. Think about Shakespeare or the operas of Mozart.
Oh, wow, okay.
Those works are performed centuries after the creators passed away, continually generating cultural value. Could a teen comedy from 2004 eventually function like a piece of classical theater?
That's a crazy thought.
Right. We could be looking at a scenario where a modern movie script becomes a perpetual trust fund. It could be licensed and performed in high schools 100 years from now, generating revenue for a trust or an estate, completely independent of the original creator's existence. The infrastructure she built might actually outlast us all.
That is wild to think about. A comedy script becoming a perpetual motion machine for wealth centuries into the future. It's an incredible paradigm shift to consider. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this look into the business of comedy gives you something to think about and encourages you to keep exploring the hidden structures behind the things you love and the work you do. See you next time.